Thank you for subscribing to our channel. Today is Wednesday, December 23, 2020. CNN report: 3 French police officers shot dead after responding to a domestic violence incident. A man suspected of killing 3 police officers in central France has been found dead, the country's interior minister has said. 3 gendarmes were shot dead and a 4th injured after they responded to a domestic violence incident in Puy-de-Dôme, west of Lyon, in the early hours of Wednesday. The alleged shooter left the scene, sparking a manhunt. On Wednesday morning, Minister of the Interior Gérald Darmanin tweeted that the madman was found dead.
CNN report: every country has vaccine skeptics. In Russia, doctors are in their ranks. News of the first takers of the desperately awaited Pfizer-BioNTech coronavirus vaccine spurred some hope and excitement amid new lockdowns and spiraling infections in much of the US and the UK. But in Russia, one of the few countries already offering vaccines to a wider segment of the general public, the turnout in the first 2 weeks of large-scale vaccination has been less than enthusiastic. Moscow opened the doors of Russia's first 70 vaccination centers 2 weeks ago, offering healthcare workers and other crucial groups a shot of Russian-developed vaccine Sputnik V.
BBC report: Sister Abhaya, Indian priest and nun jailed for murder of convent sister. Father Thomas Kaur and Sister Sefi were convicted on Tuesday of murdering 21-year-old Sister Abhaya in 1992, and destroying evidence of the killing. The pair killed her after she came across them engaged in illicit sexual activity. Local police originally thought the young nun had taken her own life, but further investigations were launched following suspicions about her death from family and campaigners.
Deutsche Welle report: fire at Bosnia migrant camp, authorities blame residents. Wednesday's fire that engulfed the Lipa migrant center in northwestern Bosnia-Herzegovina was likely set by several migrants who were displeased with the scheduled closure of the camp, according to a United Nations official. As far as we know now, a group of former residents put 3 tents and containers on fire after most of the migrants had left the camp. Peter van der Auwert, head of the International Organization for Migrations (IOM) that is running the migrant camps in Bosnia-Herzegovina, wrote on Twitter.
Deutsche Welle report: Brexit deal agreed, 2 senior EU diplomats tell DW. EU and UK Brexit negotiators have tentatively agreed a free trade deal after 9 months of negotiations, 2 senior EU diplomats told DW on Wednesday. It comes after senior aides to European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said earlier in the day that both sides are in the final phase, and agreement is in the air, said one source close to the talks. Another senior EU diplomat told DW that the outlines of the agreement would be finalized by 2000 set.
BBC report: Trump vetoes unconstitutional defense bill. Mr. Trump is objecting to provisions that limit troop withdrawals from Afghanistan and Europe and remove Confederate leaders' names from military bases. He also wanted it to repeal a liability shield for social media companies. Lawmakers passed the measure with a veto-proof margin, meaning they could override the president's rejection. If Congress does not override the president's veto, which requires a 2/3 majority in both chambers, it would be the first time in 60 years that the National Defense Authorization Act (NDAA) does not become law.
CNN report: the pandemic is forcing older workers to retire early. America has gone from having the strongest job market in decades to the very opposite during the pandemic. For older workers who have lost their jobs this year, the state of the labor market makes it harder to get rehired as the economy recovers, forcing many Americans to retire early. The U.S. economy shed more than 22 million jobs in the spring but recovered more than half of them in the following months.
Fox report: open mic catches LA cop in sex act near Universal Studios Bates Motel lot. That's psycho. An on-duty Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputy allegedly had sex with a woman near the Bates Motel section of the Universal Studios lot, and accidentally left his microphone on for a dispatcher to hear a blow-by-blow of the sleazy romp. TMZ obtained a clip of the X-rated encounter between the unnamed deputy and a woman near the section of the lot in Universal City devoted to the Alfred Hitchcock classic.
Fox report: as Brexit deadline approaches, France warns against bad concessions to UK. As Brexit talks between Britain and the European Union increasingly come down to the wire, with an end-of-year deadline approaching to secure a free trade deal, France is hitting the brakes, warning EU negotiators not to be pressured by the ticking clock. We should not put ourselves, Europeans, under time pressure to finish by this hour or that day. Otherwise we would put ourselves in a situation to make bad concessions, France's Europe Minister Clement Beaune told the BFM network, in remarks reported by the Associated Press.
CNN report. How voters rank Trump a historically bad president. Poll of the week. A new Fox News poll finds that 42% of voters say history will remember President Donald Trump as one of the worst presidents ever. An additional 8% say he will be remembered as below average, while 22% say one of the greatest, 16% say above average and 10% say below average. What's the point? With the Trump presidency coming to a close, historians and Americans alike are starting to put Trump in historical perspective.
Deutsche Welle report. Italy, families of coronavirus victims sue government for €100 million in damages. The relatives of Italian citizens who died during the coronavirus pandemic announced Wednesday that they are suing Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte, Health Minister Roberto Speranza and Northern Lombardy President Attilo Fontana for €100 million $122 million in damages. The roughly 500 family members say the government's mishandling of the coronavirus crisis led directly to the deaths of their loved ones.
Al Jazeera report. Ex-leader Gbagbo's party ends boycott of Ivory Coast elections. The party of former Ivory Coast President Laurent Gbagbo said it was ending a 10-year boycott of elections, a move coinciding with efforts to end a prolonged political crisis. The Ivorian Popular Front (FPI) will take part in legislative elections, due in the first quarter of 2021, the party announced in a statement on Wednesday following a meeting of its Central Committee. The party promised to give itself the means to win the vote and would work with other opposition parties.
Al Jazeera report. I'll be home for Christmas. U.S. hits the road despite COVID surge. Some are elderly and figure they do not have many Christmases left. Others are trying to keep long-distance romance alive. Some just yearn for the human connection that has been absent for the past 9 months. Whatever their reasons, millions of Americans are traveling ahead of the Christmas and New Year holidays, despite pleas from public health experts that they stay home to avoid fueling the raging coronavirus pandemic that has killed more than 320,000 nationwide.
BBC report. COVID. France rewards frontline immigrant workers with citizenship. The Interior Ministry invited residents helping with efforts against COVID-19 to apply for accelerated naturalization. More than 700 have already been granted citizenship or are in the final stages of receiving it. They include healthcare professionals, cleaners and shop workers. Frontline workers around the world have been exposed to COVID-19 at a high rate, with many dying from the disease, including doctors and nurses.
Al Jazeera report. Gunmen kill dozens in Ethiopia's Benishangul-Gumuz, writes Body. Gunmen have killed more than 100 people in a dawn attack in the western Benishangul-Gumuz region of Ethiopia, according to the country's Human Rights Commission. The attack occurred on Wednesday in the village of Bikoji in Bulan County in the Metekel zone, the state-run Ethiopian Human Rights Commission said in a statement, an area where multiple ethnic groups are living. Africa's second most populous nation has been grappling with regular outbreaks of deadly violence since Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed was appointed in 2018 and accelerated democratic reforms that loosened the state's iron grip on regional rivalries.
Fox report. Florida man pleads guilty to killing wife, leads police to remains. A Florida man who police say kidnapped and killed his wife earlier this year, then sent strange text messages in which he pretended to be her in order to cover it up, pleaded guilty to lesser charges and disclosed the location of her body. Jupiter police found the remains of Gretchen Anthony, 51, about 3 miles from her home in Abacoa, putting an end to a nearly 10-month-long search that began after she disappeared in March.
Fox report. Florida animal rescuers saved 20 dogs from Chinese meat market. A Florida animal shelter says it has helped rescue 20 golden retrievers from winding up on a meat market menu in China in a months-long rescue operation involving volunteers on 2 continents. I had a dream, and on Sunday it became a reality, Christine Minerva, who organized the project, told Fox News in an email Tuesday. One woman put this together and spearheaded this mission, and she rocked it. The dogs were at risk of being slaughtered for food, according to Minerva.
Thank you for watching 5 p.m. Recap. To be notified, you can subscribe our channel and activate the bell.